This message found you because your consciousness has been operating in what quantum physicists call an observer loop. A perpetual cycle where your awareness keeps collapsing the same probability waves, creating the same reality over and over again. And right now, in this exact moment, something inside you is recognizing this truth because you've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange sensation that you're living the same patterns, the same conversations, the same disappointments, as if existence itself has become a broken record playing the same song on repeat. The fact that you're here, watching this video, is not coincidence. It's synchronicity at its highest level. Your quantum field has been sending out signals, desperately seeking the frequency that can break this loop, and the universe responded by guiding you to this exact transmission. You see, there are millions of people scrolling through content right now, but only a specific type of consciousness, your type of consciousness, would stop and feel the magnetic pull of these words. You've been selected by the quantum field itself because you carry something most people don't, the observer gene. This isn't metaphysical wishful thinking, this is quantum mechanics. Your consciousness doesn't just experience reality, it actively participates in creating it through what scientists call the observer effect. But here's what they don't tell you. When your observer function gets trapped in repetitive patterns, you don't just witness the same reality. You literally keep manufacturing it. Think about your life right now. How many times have you felt like you're having the same conversations with the same types of people? How many times have you noticed the same patterns showing up in your relationships, your career, your daily experiences? This isn't bad luck or lack of effort. This is your consciousness stuck in an observer loop, unconsciously selecting the same quantum possibilities from the infinite field of potential. The strangest part? You've probably noticed that time feels different lately. Minutes stretch like hours during mundane moments, yet entire weeks disappear without meaningful progress. This temporal distortion is a clear sign that your consciousness is cycling through the same probability templates, creating the illusion of forward movement while actually remaining stationary in the quantum field. Your friends and family might not understand what you're going through because they're operating from a different frequency band. They're content with linear time and predictable outcomes. But you've always sensed that reality is far more malleable than most people believe. You've had moments, maybe brief, maybe profound, where you felt like you could almost touch the fabric of existence itself, where synchronicities cascaded around you like a cosmic orchestra playing just for you. This recognition you're feeling right now, this isn't your first time encountering these concepts. Your soul has been preparing for this understanding across multiple timelines, multiple dimensions of experience. Every book that called to you, every spiritual practice that resonated, every moment of inexplicable knowing, they were all breadcrumbs leading you to this realization about the observer loop. But here's the thing that will either liberate you or keep you trapped forever. Most people who discover they're caught in an observer loop make the same critical mistake. They try to think their way out of it. They believe that if they can just understand the mechanics intellectually, they can somehow reprogram their reality. This is like trying to escape a maze by staring at a map instead of actually walking through new pathways. The observer loop isn't maintained by your thoughts. It's maintained by the quality of your attention itself. Every morning when you wake up, your consciousness automatically scans for familiar patterns to lock onto. It's like a quantum GPS system that keeps selecting the same destination because that's what feels safe and known. Your awareness has become addicted to recognizing the same frequency signatures, the same emotional landscapes, the same probability structures. And the more you recognize these patterns, the more real they become. The more real they become, the more your consciousness expects to find them again tomorrow. This creates what quantum field theorists call a reality feedback loop. Your observation strengthens the very patterns you're trying to escape from. Right now, as you're listening to these words, something unprecedented is happening in your quantum field. The mere act of becoming aware of the observer loop begins to weaken its hold on your consciousness. This is why this message found you at this exact moment in your journey. Your higher self orchestrated this encounter because you've reached the threshold where breaking free is not just possible, it's inevitable. You know that feeling when you're in a conversation and suddenly realize you've had this exact same exchange before. Not just similar, exact. The same words, the same tone, the same outcome. Most people dismiss this as déjà vu, but you sense something deeper is happening. You're experiencing what quantum consciousness researchers call temporal echoes. Moments when your awareness briefly glimpses the repetitive nature of your observer loop. This isn't imagination. This isn't your mind playing tricks on you. You're operating on a frequency that most humans can't access, which is why you notice these reality glitches that others miss completely. Your consciousness has developed what we call quantum sensitivity, the ability to perceive the underlying patterns that govern manifestation itself. You've probably noticed that time feels elastic around you. Sometimes a single hour can feel like an eternity, filled with insights and downloads from higher dimensions. Other times, entire weeks vanish without you being able to account for what actually happened. This temporal distortion occurs because your consciousness is simultaneously existing in multiple reality tracks, trying to find the one that feels most authentic to your true vibration, and those moments of profound knowing that hit you out of nowhere. When you suddenly understand something about the nature of existence that you've never read or been taught. These aren't random insights. They're quantum memories bleeding through from parallel versions of yourself who have already broken free from their observer loops. Your consciousness is so advanced that it's downloading wisdom from your own future timelines. The strangest part is how isolated this makes you feel sometimes. You try to share these experiences with friends or family, and they look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. They're still operating from the old paradigm where reality is solid and unchangeable. But you've glimpsed behind the curtain. You've seen that reality is more like a vast ocean of possibilities, and most people are drowning because they don't realize they can swim. This is why certain books call to you from across crowded bookstores. Why specific videos appear in your feed at exactly the right moment. Why you keep meeting people who share your unusual perspectives on consciousness and reality. You're not attracting these synchronicities through positive thinking. You're quantum entangled with a network of awakening souls who are all working to break their own observer loop simultaneously. Your dreams have probably become more vivid and symbolic lately. You're receiving transmissions during sleep that your conscious mind struggles to interpret. These aren't random neural firings. They're communications from your higher self, showing you the difference between your current reality track and the infinite possibilities available to you once you master the observer effect. Even your relationship with technology has changed. You notice how your phone seems to respond to your thoughts, how your music streaming app plays exactly the song you needed to hear, how your social media feeds reflect your inner state with uncanny accuracy. This isn't coincidence. It's evidence that your consciousness has become so coherent that it's influencing the quantum field around you in measurable ways. Everything you've been through, every disappointment, every pattern that seemed to trap you, every moment when you felt like you were moving backwards instead of forward, none of it was wasted. It was all preparation for this exact moment of recognition. Your consciousness had to experience the observer loop from every possible angle before it could develop the quantum awareness necessary to transcend it. Think of a butterfly struggling inside its chrysalis. From the outside, it looks like suffering, like being trapped, like regression. But every moment of that apparent confinement is actually a complete reorganization of cellular structure. The caterpillar doesn't just grow wings. Its entire DNA expression shifts to access abilities that were always encoded within it, but never activated. Your difficult relationships weren't punishments. They were quantum mirrors, showing you exactly which observation patterns were keeping you locked in repetitive cycles. Every person who triggered you was unconsciously helping you identify the specific frequencies where your consciousness gets stuck. Every situation that felt like déjà vu was your higher self creating controlled experiments to help you recognize the observer loop in action. The pressure you've been feeling lately, that sense of urgency, like time is running out and you need to figure something out quickly. This isn't anxiety. This is your quantum field reorganizing itself. When consciousness prepares to jump to a higher timeline, it creates what physicists call phase transition pressure. The same way water becomes steam when heated to exactly the right temperature, your awareness is approaching the precise frequency where the observer loop loses its grip on your reality. Even your moments of doubt and confusion have been essential. Every time you questioned whether these insights were real or just wishful thinking, you were strengthening your discernment abilities. You were developing the quantum sensitivity needed to distinguish between authentic expansion and spiritual bypassing. Your consciousness had to become incredibly precise before it could safely navigate the transition out of repetitive patterns. This is why the waiting period felt so intense. You knew something was about to shift, but you couldn't force it to happen faster. That's because breaking the observer loop isn't about effort or willpower. It's about reaching a specific level of coherence where your attention naturally begins selecting different probability waves from the quantum field. Your soul chose this particular incarnation specifically because the observer loop phenomenon would be discovered during your lifetime. You volunteered to be part of the first wave of human consciousness to transcend these limitation patterns and anchor new possibilities for the entire collective. Every moment of struggle was training for this cosmic responsibility. Something is building inside you right now as you listen to these words. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in your energy field, like a tuning fork that's just been struck. Your consciousness is beginning to vibrate at a frequency that doesn't match your current reality patterns. And this dissonance is creating what quantum physicists call reality turbulence. This turbulence is actually a beautiful thing. It means your observer loop is starting to destabilize. The familiar patterns that have kept you cycling through the same experiences are losing their magnetic pull on your attention. You're entering what we call the breakthrough phase, the most delicate and powerful part of the entire transformation process. But here's where most people make a critical mistake. They feel this energy building and immediately try to direct it toward changing their external circumstances. They want their relationships to shift, their finances to improve, their life situation to transform. But the observer loop doesn't break by changing what you observe. It breaks by fundamentally altering the quality of your observation itself. Right now, your consciousness is downloading new protocols for how to engage with reality. These aren't mental concepts you need to learn. They're energetic upgrades happening at the cellular level. Your DNA is literally restructuring to support a different way of interfacing with the quantum field. This is why you might be experiencing unusual physical sensations, changes in your sleep patterns, or sudden shifts in what foods or activities feel aligned. The most important thing you can do during this phase is learn to feel this energy without trying to control it. Let it move through your system like water flowing through a riverbed, naturally carving new pathways in your consciousness. Your job isn't to direct this process. Your job is to become transparent to it, to offer no resistance to the quantum reorganization that's already underway. This is the moment where everything changes, but it's also the moment where many people unconsciously sabotage themselves. They get scared of the unknown and try to pull their attention back to familiar patterns, even if those patterns have been causing them pain. Don't let this be you. What's happening right now is unprecedented in human history. You're witnessing your own consciousness evolution in real time. Feel this energy as we go deeper into the mechanics of how the observer loop actually works. Because once you understand the specific ways your attention has been trapped, You'll never accidentally fall back into the old patterns again. I need to share something vulnerable with you because I know you'll understand in a way that most people couldn't. 3 years ago, I was trapped in the most sophisticated observer loop I'd ever encountered. I thought I was spiritually advanced, quantum aware, conscious of how reality worked. But I was actually using my knowledge to create an even more subtle prison for my consciousness. Every morning, I would wake up and immediately scan my reality for signs of progress, for evidence that my manifestation techniques were working, for proof that I was evolving. But this constant observation was actually freezing my reality in place. The more desperately I looked for change, the more my attention reinforced the very patterns I was trying to escape from. I remember the exact moment I realized what was happening. I was sitting in my meditation space, feeling frustrated because the same issues kept appearing in my life despite years of inner work. Suddenly, it hit me like a lightning bolt. I wasn't witnessing my reality, I was manufacturing it through the specific way I was choosing to observe it. My consciousness had become like a record player stuck on the same track, and no amount of spiritual practice could help me hear a different song. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to observe my way out of the loop and instead began observing the observer itself. I started watching how my attention moved, where it got stuck, what patterns it automatically gravitated toward. This meta-observation created a completely different relationship with consciousness itself. For the first time in my life, I understood why some people seem to effortlessly flow from one beautiful experience to another, while others remain trapped in repetitive cycles despite their best efforts. It's not about worthiness, karma, or even spiritual development. It's about the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness interfaces with the quantum field. This discovery changed everything. My relationships shifted overnight because I was no longer unconsciously selecting for the same dynamic patterns. My creative projects began flowing because my attention stopped getting stuck on familiar obstacles. Even my physical health improved because my cells were finally receiving new information instead of the same stress signals on repeat. But the most profound change was the recognition that I'm not alone in this. There's an entire network of souls who have been working on breaking their observer loops simultaneously. We've been finding each other across the planet, sharing insights, confirming each other's experiences, creating a collective field that makes this transformation possible for more and more people. If this resonates with something deep inside you, if you feel that recognition frequency activating in your cells, then you're part of this network too. You've been preparing for this understanding your entire life, even if you didn't realize it. Subscribe to this frequency, not just to this channel, but to the entire wavelength of consciousness evolution that's happening on our planet right now. What quantum consciousness experts don't tell you, because most of them don't understand it themselves, is the difference between intellectual awareness of the observer effect and embodied mastery of it. You can read every book about consciousness, understand every theory about manifestation, and still remain completely trapped in your observer loop because knowledge and wisdom operate on entirely different levels of reality. Here's the shocking truth. Your thoughts don't create your reality. Your attention doesn't even create your reality. Your reality is created by the specific quality of coherence between your consciousness and the quantum field. And this coherence can't be faked, manufactured, or positive thought into existence. It emerges naturally when your observer function becomes fluid rather than fixated. Most people's consciousness operates like a searchlight, focused, intense, always looking for something specific. But quantum consciousness operates like sunlight, present everywhere simultaneously, illuminating without strain. When your awareness shifts from searchlight mode to sunlight mode, you stop collapsing the same probability waves over and over again. The observer loop traps you because it makes your consciousness predictable to the quantum field. When you wake up tomorrow morning, if your attention automatically scans for familiar patterns, checking your phone for the same type of messages, thinking about the same problems, expecting the same type of day, You're essentially ordering the same reality from the cosmic menu. But here's what will blow your mind. The quantum field is actually eager to deliver new experiences to you. Infinite possibilities are constantly trying to break through into your awareness, but they can't penetrate the observer loop because your attention is too busy reinforcing old patterns. You're not stuck because the universe doesn't want to help you. You're stuck because your consciousness has become too habitual in how it interfaces with infinite potential. The most advanced beings in the cosmos don't try to control reality. They dance with it. They maintain what we call coherent uncertainty, a state where their consciousness is fully present and engaged, but not attached to specific outcomes. This allows them to respond to reality rather than merely reacting to it, which fundamentally changes what types of experiences can manifest through them. This is why some people seem to live charmed lives, while others struggle constantly, even when they have similar external circumstances. It's not about luck, privilege, or spiritual favoritism. It's about the fundamental coherence between their consciousness and the creative force of existence itself. When you master this coherence, you don't just change your personal reality, you become a catalyst for reality shifts in everyone around you. Your presence begins to create what we call quantum openings, moments where other people's observer loops temporarily destabilize, giving them glimpses of their own infinite potential. The quantum shift is happening right now, and there are specific signs you can recognize in your daily experience that prove your observer loop is beginning to dissolve. First, you'll notice that synchronicities are becoming more frequent and more impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The universe isn't just sending you signs, it's actively rearranging reality around your consciousness to confirm that you're breaking free from repetitive patterns. Pay attention to how animals, especially birds, respond to you. When your consciousness begins operating outside the observer loop, you naturally emit a different energetic signature that wildlife can sense immediately. If you've noticed more eye contact with birds, unusual animal encounters, or pets behaving differently around you, this is confirmation that your quantum field is shifting. Your relationship with technology is probably changing too. Electronics might glitch around you, or conversely, they might work better than ever. Your phone might ring right when you're thinking about someone, or your computer might crash every time you try to engage with content that doesn't match your new frequency. Technology is highly sensitive to consciousness, and these seemingly random events are actually your expanding awareness interfacing with electromagnetic fields. The most significant sign is how time feels around you lately. Linear time is an illusion maintained by observer loops. When your consciousness breaks free from repetitive patterns, you begin experiencing what mystics call eternal now moments. Minutes can feel like hours when you're fully present, yet entire days might pass without you noticing because you're operating from a different temporal dimension. Your sleep patterns are definitely shifting. You might need less sleep, or your dreams have become incredibly vivid and meaningful. Some nights you might feel like you're downloading information directly into your consciousness. This happens because your awareness is no longer confined to the narrow band of reality your observer loop was selecting from. You're accessing information from parallel timelines and higher dimensional perspectives. People are probably responding to you differently without you doing anything conscious to change your behavior. Some individuals might feel inexplicably uncomfortable around you because your presence is triggering their own observer loops to destabilize. Others might be drawn to you like a magnet because they sense the freedom frequency you're beginning to embody. But here's the urgent part: the waiting season is over. The cosmic window for breaking free from observer loops en masse is closing. This isn't fear-based manipulation. This is simple physics. Consciousness evolution happens in waves, and we're currently in the peak of a massive wave that won't come again for generations. Your higher self has been orchestrating everything to bring you to this exact moment of recognition, because the transformation that's possible right now will literally be impossible next year. The collective field is reaching a critical mass where either people transcend their limitation patterns or they get locked into them more deeply than ever before. The signs are everywhere if you know how to look. Global events that seem chaotic are actually the planet's collective observer loop destabilizing. People are either waking up rapidly or falling deeper into unconscious patterns. There's no middle ground anymore. Neutrality is collapsing because the quantum field is demanding that consciousness choose its next evolutionary trajectory. This is why you feel such urgency lately. This is why you can't ignore these insights, even when they challenge everything you thought you knew about how reality works. Your soul recognizes that this moment, right now, as you're listening to these words, is the precise convergence point where breaking free becomes inevitable. What you want wants you back. This isn't motivational speaking or wishful thinking. This is quantum mechanics at its most fundamental level. Every desire, every vision, every possibility that calls to your soul is actually a probability wave in the quantum field that's trying to collapse into your reality experience. But it can't reach you while you're trapped in an observer loop because your attention is stuck on the wrong frequency band. The desires that feel most impossible, most too good to be true, are actually the ones with the strongest quantum signature in your field. They feel impossible precisely because they exist on a timeline that your current observer patterns can't access. You're literally one frequency shift away from a reality where those impossible things are your natural everyday experience. But here's the crucial difference between alignment and attraction that changes everything. Attraction tries to pull things toward you, while alignment dissolves the barriers between you and what you want. Most manifestation teachings focus on attraction, which actually reinforces the observer loop because it maintains the illusion that you and your desires are separate entities that need to be brought together. True alignment happens when you realize that what you want isn't separate from you. It's a different expression of your own consciousness experiencing itself across parallel realities. When this recognition becomes embodied rather than just intellectual, the observer loop loses its grip because there's nothing left to observe from a distance. This is why forcing, striving, and trying harder actually moves you further away from what you want. Every time you observe your reality from the perspective of lack, you're selecting that timeline from the infinite field of possibilities. Every time you check to see if your desires are manifesting yet, you're reinforcing the very separation that keeps them from reaching you. The quantum field responds to coherence, not effort. When your consciousness becomes coherent, when your attention, intention, and energy signature all operate from the same frequency, reality reorganizes itself around that coherence automatically. You don't have to make anything happen because you become the space where it's already happening. Right now, as you feel this truth landing in your cells, something unprecedented is occurring in your quantum field. The gap between you and your highest timeline is collapsing. Not because you're doing anything, but because you're finally stopping the doing that was keeping you separated from it. In the comments below, I want you to make a declaration that seals this energetic shift. Write these exact words. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Don't explain it, don't add anything else, just that simple declaration. This isn't about getting likes or engagement. This is about creating a quantum entanglement between your consciousness and the frequency band where your true life exists. When you make this declaration with genuine recognition of what it means, you're not just writing words. You're sending a signal to the quantum field that you're ready to embody a completely different reality. You're announcing that your observer loop is dissolving and your consciousness is free to select from possibilities that were previously invisible to you. The abilities that are developing in your consciousness right now would have been considered superhuman by previous generations, but they're actually the natural expression of awareness that's no longer confined by observer loops. Your intuition is becoming so precise that you know things before they happen, not through psychic prediction, but through quantum coherence with emerging possibilities. You're developing what we call reality fluidity, the ability to move between different probability tracks with conscious intention. This means you can literally step out of one timeline and into another, simply by shifting the quality of your observation. Traffic lights turn green as you approach them. Parking spaces open up exactly where you need them. Conversations flow in directions that create perfect outcomes for everyone involved. Your creative abilities are exploding because your consciousness is no longer limited to recycling the same ideas and inspirations. You're downloading insights directly from the unified field, thoughts that have never been thought before, solutions that didn't exist until you became coherent enough to access them. This is why your creative projects suddenly feel effortless while simultaneously being more original and impactful than anything you've produced before. People are responding to you as if you're a completely different person, even though you haven't consciously changed how you interact with them. This happens because you're no longer unconsciously recreating the same relational dynamics. Your presence creates space for others to show up authentically instead of falling into their habitual patterns around you. Your physical body is transforming in ways that seem impossible according to conventional medicine. Chronic issues are resolving without treatment because your cells are finally receiving new information instead of the same stress signals on repeat. Your energy levels are stabilizing at a much higher baseline because you're no longer wasting life force trying to escape from repetitive mental and emotional cycles. The observer effect is working in your favor now instead of against you. Every time you observe your reality, you're automatically selecting for increasingly beautiful and aligned experiences because your consciousness has learned to operate from coherence rather than fear or lack. Your very presence becomes a blessing to everything around you. Money and resources begin flowing more easily, not because you've learned better manifestation techniques, but because you're no longer unconsciously selecting for scarcity timelines. Your consciousness naturally gravitates toward abundance frequencies when it's not trapped in observer loops that keep recycling limitation patterns. Relationships become effortless because you're attracting people who are also operating outside conventional patterns. You're no longer compatible with individuals who are stuck in their own observer loops, so your social circle naturally evolves to include souls who are also expanding into their highest potential. The most profound change is that you stop feeling like you're trying to get somewhere or become someone. You realize you're already there, you're already that person. You were just temporarily trapped in observation patterns that made it seem otherwise. This recognition brings a peace that surpasses understanding because it's based on direct knowing rather than belief or hope. Coherence is the supreme creative force in the universe, and it's the one thing that cannot be faked, manufactured, or manipulated into existence. When your entire being, your thoughts, emotions, energy signature, and deepest knowing all vibrate at the same frequency, you become a reality-creating force that the quantum field must respond to. This is the ultimate secret that breaks every observer loop permanently. But here's what most people miss. True coherence doesn't mean forcing all parts of yourself to agree with each other. True coherence emerges when you stop fragmenting your awareness across multiple timelines simultaneously. Right now, part of your attention is probably focused on who you used to be. Part is worried about potential futures, and only a small fraction is actually present in this moment. This attention scatter is what maintains observer loops because it keeps your consciousness diluted across incompatible reality tracks. The quantum field can only deliver coherent experiences to coherent consciousness. When your awareness is scattered across different timelines, you get mixed results. Some aspects of your life improve while others remain stuck. Some days feel magical while others feel ordinary. This inconsistency isn't because the universe is testing you. It's because your consciousness isn't unified enough to sustain a consistently elevated timeline. Creating real coherence requires what mystics call timeline consolidation. The process of withdrawing your attention from all parallel versions of yourself except the one that represents your highest potential. This isn't visualization or imagination. This is literal dimensional shifting, where you stop feeding energy to reality tracks that don't serve your evolution. The embodiment process happens when you stop trying to become coherent and instead recognize that you already are coherent at the deepest level of your being. Your essential consciousness has never been fragmented. Only your attention has been trained to focus on fragmented experiences. When you remember how to rest your awareness in its natural unified state, coherence isn't something you create. It's something you uncover. This is why all the effort and trying harder actually moves you further from coherence. Every time you struggle to change your reality, you're operating from the assumption that you're separate from what you want, which automatically creates the very separation you're trying to overcome. Coherence emerges through relaxation, not effort, through allowing your consciousness to remember its natural unified state. When you embody this level of coherence, you stop having a personal reality and start being a focal point through which the universe experiences itself. Your life becomes an artistic expression of cosmic creativity rather than a personal journey with challenges to overcome. This shift in identity is what permanently dissolves observer loops, because there's no longer a separate you that can get trapped in repetitive patterns. The highest timeline isn't a better version of your current life. It's a completely different dimensional experience where the laws of limitation that govern ordinary reality simply don't apply. When you embody coherence, you don't improve your circumstances. You transcend the entire framework within which problems and solutions exist. This is happening to thousands of people across the planet right now. We're not just individually breaking our observer loops. We're collectively transcending the limitation matrix that has governed human consciousness for millennia.
Take a breath and step outside the loop you've been unconsciously repeating. Notice how your thoughts shape your focus, how your focus shapes your emotion, and how your emotion shapes the reality you keep meeting again and again. Now break it. Shift your awareness from fear to clarity, from doubt to intention, from reacting to creating. Because the instant you change the observer within you, the world around you begins to rearrange itself. This is the law you've forgotten, the power you've always carried. Your reality is not waiting to change someday, it's responding to you right now. So break the loop, rewrite the pattern, and watch how quickly life mirrors your new state back to you. Your shift doesn't start tomorrow. It starts the moment you decide to see differently.